All right, welcome back. We're going to be talking about some tips and tricks that will help you play like the pros in Mythic Plus. These videos have been doing quite well. People have seemed to enjoy them, kind of learning some of the niche tech in that, the niche strategies that you're going to be able to perform in Mythic Plus that help you time keys just a little bit easier. And this week, we're going to be coming up with some more interesting tech for you to be able to use in your dungeons. And right off the bat, we have probably the most important one that happens in Priory of the Sacred Flame. I got DM'd a question asking about this, and I ended up hearing the response by somebody in my Twitch chat. So thank you so much for whoever brought this to my attention. Baron Braunpike will sometimes skip his Castigator shield. This was like pretty well known. I actually thought that this was a bug, that sometimes he would skip his Castigator shield. However, it has been figured out as to how he is actually going to be able to skip his Castigator shield. So as you can see on screen right here, the Castigator shield is going to be going off in 5 seconds. What you're going to be noticing about our positioning here is we are going to all be running behind where Baron Braunpike is. That means that the tank is the only person that actually is in front of Baron. So, it might even be a little bit wider. So it might even be like this much area. If nobody is in this area of Baron Braunpike, then the Castigator shield will get canceled. And this is actually a huge deal because then that means that you're not going to take any damage. And as you can see here, the Castigator shield begins to cast. Our tank actually starts to move Baron Braunpike towards the sacrificial pyre, but everybody is behind the boss. And whenever everybody's behind the boss here, the shield completely gets nullified. We accidentally had one of the Castigator shields go off on this fight. Let me see if I can maybe skip forward to show you guys what that ends up looking like. So the Castigator shield here is on a 3-second cast, and the boss is stuck here. So he actually does have line to us. So realistically, the tank is the only person that's in front of him, but he can see us here. And so the Castigator shield is going to be going off in 2.5 seconds, and then it's going to end up casting on us because we are, let's say, just like even with the boss, and we realistically just need to be behind the boss. So that's basically the tech. Just always stay behind the boss as a 4-player stack. Have the tank be the only person that's in front of the boss, and you actually can't get that Castigator shield cast onto you. Something similar happens in Rookery as well, as you can see on screen right here, where we have the Void Diffusers constantly casting the Arc Lightning on our tank. If the tank, again, is the only person that is in front of the Void Diffusers, then they will be the only eligible target for that Arc Lightning. Players who are in front of the boss are eligible targets for the Arc Lightning, so realistically, you can maybe bait it on a DK or somebody else with a very strong shield, like an Anti-Magic Shell or something of the sort. But realistically, if you can just kind of move as a triangle with all three, or with the double Void Diffuser pull, or just make sure that the tank is kind of constantly tanking the pack, with the Void Diffuser always facing them. That way you will allow basically a substantial amount of less damage going on the entire party, and all of the Void Diffuser Arc Lightnings going on your tank. Moving over here to Operation Floodgate, as you can see on screen right here, we have a clip of Yargi, and he's standing on top of the roof. What this actually does whenever you're standing on top of the roof is on the Big Mama encounter, the robots that are attached to the boss will actually try to dash towards you. And if you're standing on top of this roof, though, they're actually going to have no path available to you, and so they will actually try to cast that movement ability and then just get stuck in melee. This means that the robots will be stacked up as often as possible, allowing you to get more effective cleave from your melee DPS or any of your stacked cleave that comes from your range. Of course, this does require you to actually clear out the trash that is up on this area. So there is a Blood Warper pack that's up on here. So, this team will actually go over to the right-hand side and Bloodlust that Blood Warper pack as the first pull of the dungeon. You're going to have to know that if you want to get up on the spot, but maybe this could kind of inspire somebody to find a different spot that you're able to stand on top of and be able to continue to bait these robots. Continuing on with some of the Floodgate tech, you're also able to skip the Blood Warper that's next to the box. And if you move right on top of this pixel that you see right on screen here, I honestly think the best way of doing this is RP walking. If you have that RP walk and active, you just kind of walk up and you walk up to this pixel, and then you wait until the box becomes an active element that you can interact with, and you just interact with it. You're able to click the box, and then you're just able to completely skip that pack. It's a huge deal and a massive time save if you're able to do this in Operation Floodgate. Moving on over to Dark Flame Cleft, as you can see on screen right here, there are these mobs called these Fiends, and they stand next to the Candle Wax mobs. The Fiends can actually be LOS'd on their cast, and the candles that are in the Blazicon room are LOS of both the AoE from the candle and the Fiend's AoE. This means that you're not going to be able to get the increased damage taken from fire debuff that the Fiends will put on you, or the candle actually putting that on you. I think that's a great strategy if you're not playing with something like a Vengeance Demon Hunter or Protection Warrior that has that mass AoE lockout. If instead you're playing with a different tank, this is a great strategy for you to LOS all the Fiends or LOS the candle AoE and just allow you to take a substantially amount of reduced damage. The Defenders in Workshop are actually kind of interesting mobs as well. So they drop a shield generator on the ground. And the way that we've kind of been using these Defenders in the shield generator, more often than not, you use it to deal with the Mark III robot whenever it's doing the short out with the dot that's on a player. That's standard. However, if you mind control the defender, you can actually keep it throughout the Machinist Guard encounter, allowing you to stand on that shield inside the Machinist Guard encounter, allowing you to tank some of the cogs that are coming out, so that's nice. However, the bigger deal with the mind controlling of the defender is then you're able to take it into the spider tanks right after the Machinist Guard encounter, allowing you to spend substantially less defensives on the double spider tank pull, and allowing the consistency of that pull to increase substantially, as it's going to be a lot easier for you to live just as an individual. In Cinderbrew Meadery, there is a pull that should be skipped at pretty much all costs. If you can see all the way up here, there is a double hobgoblin flavor scientist pull that you realistically want to skip if at all possible. Obviously, the most common way of skipping this is you use a Vengeance Demon Hunter, you take the pack back to right here, your DPS and your healer run through to right here, and then the Demon Hunter double jumps and melds off the pack. However, there's another way of actually dealing with this, and you can see on screen right here, we have a POV of Kess. What Kess is going to do is he is going to sleepwalk this flavor scientist. The flavor scientist is the lead of the patrol of the two hobgoblins, and he pulls those two hobgoblins off to the side, and then the remainder of the group can actually run through, skipping that double hobgoblin pack. If you're able to skip that pack, it is an insane time save, and it's an insane survivability increase on your just consistency in the dungeon, because this pull should be skipped if at all possible, and basically you should be looking to any single route that you make in Cinderbrew Meadery should ideally be looking to skip this pull. But if you do have to pull some hobgoblins, there are some boxes that you can stand on, particularly inside the IPA room, that will allow you to kind of bait the hobgoblin and not have to move if he selects you with a charge. This is great for ranged DPS who are trying to just AFK and deal as much damage as possible. So for the last piece of tech that we can see here, say you're somebody who's not playing a Ret Paladin, perhaps, and you don't actually want to be DPSing random shitter mobs in Mythic Plus, such as Beelits in Cinderbrew Meadery, or Afflicted Civilians in Rookery, and you don't want to get mind controlled by the damage meter and feel like you actually need to DPS these mobs in any capacity. What you can actually do is you can go into your details damage meter, and then you can go into spell list. From spell list, you can click on these things they're called NPC list, and then you can click to ignore some mobs on your damage meter. This way, if you're like me, and you would get mind controlled trying to think that you actually want to dot these civilians whenever you realistically don't, or you want to dot these B-list, again, whenever you realistically don't, you don't have to feel bad that you can't pad on completely useless mobs. And this will allow you to make your damage meter a little bit more ethical. Okay, cool. That's going to conclude some of the tips and tech that I've actually prepared for you guys to see today. I hope you guys have kind of been enjoying the content that I've been putting out recently. I'm going to do a couple more rank 1 key VOD reviews, so if you've been enjoying that content, stay tuned for that. If you've been enjoying the content lately, I've been getting a lot of positive feedback. Make sure you like, subscribe, and check out my stream. I've been streaming a lot lately. I stream a few days a week, normally like 5 to 6 days a week. So if you continue to enjoy my content, come check out the stream. And if you've really been enjoying it, leave a prime. And I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.